final topic for today before we hit the finals. I made a tweet earlier today where, we have a couple games left. We have the upper finals, lower finals, and the championship still to go. But I gave my thoughts on who is the current MVP, player of the year, something we've talked about in a video before, coach of the year, rookie of the year, and my all VCT 2023 first team, which is a terminology from the NBA, where you pick the best player in each position. For here, it'll be Sentinel, Duelist, Initiator, Controller, and then a fifth spot for the Flex spot. So I think, great place to start is the MVP, Player of the Year. And of course, things could change in the championship, and I'll give a couple scenarios of how it could be. But for right now, Alphayer coming into this event was my MVP of the year. He is still the best performing player here at Champions. He has been going nuts for Fnatic, still in this event. And as of right now, he is the clear number one player of the year. Clear number one player of the year for me. Number 2 and number 3 are Les and Leo. Right now, I have Les very, very close above Leo in the 2 or 3 spot. I do think there's a gap between Alphayer and everybody else, but Les has been playing so good here again. He's been the loudest player here again in Champions. He's the reason, really the driving reason that they are in the spot that they are right now in the top 4. So that's where I gave him a little bit of spot ahead of Leo, but Leo's been performing incredible too, again here at Champions. So to me, these are the clear 3 top players for MVP, and there's a huge gap between anybody else. So there's Alphayer, a gap, Leo and Les, and then a gap for everybody else. I think it is very notable that the best 3 players that I have for Player of the Year, none of them are duelists. And the top 2 players are both Sentinels. And I think that just shows how crazy the skill level is right now. And then even a lot of times it is a good situation idea to put your top player on the Sentinel role and not just a star duelist, kind of gets the spotlight.
Yeah. I think it really depends on the aiming style too. I think Sentinels have to have that steady aim where Alphayer and Les, their aim is so fucking clean when I watch them. But when I watch something, he can just whip all over the place and just 2-bullet anyone on his screen. I actually agree though. I think my 2023 Player of the Year, I think it has to be Alphayer. It just has to be, because they won lock-in. They didn't win VCT EMEA, which is the one blemish, I guess. But they didn't need to.
He was still a top 5 player of the season.
Yeah,
still
exactly.
Top 5 player of the season.
He was incredible at Masters Tokyo.
MVP at Tokyo.
He's been incredible again.
He's the number 1 player of Champions so far.
I think actually Demon 1 passed him up. I think Demon 1 passed him up.
In some statistics, he is still the best player. But with everything that Demon 1 did in the previous 2 matches, he is right there.
So his ACS is 242 in all of Champions. Demon 1's is 260. His rating is 1.27. Demon 1's is 1.31. His KD is higher than Demon 1's by 0.02. His damage per round is slightly lower.
They're tied in first bloods.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know.
It's really close. It's really fucking close.
Yeah.
It's Alphayer and Demon 1 are basically neck and neck for Champions MVP.
But kind of talking about full year stuff.
Yeah, full year.
That's the thing is Demon 1 didn't play lock-in. He didn't play the early part of VCT Americas. And I don't think he was on top of his game in Tokyo. I don't necessarily think it cost his team anything, but again, to give it to him over Alphayer, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can. And the same thing goes for Les. Is they didn't win lock-in. They placed second, and they looked terrible in Tokyo. And even though Les looked insane in VCT Americas, like, same thing with Ospas. Like, I have to put, like, a huge red X on their file for this question here because of Tokyo. And that does have to be taken into account.
Me too.
And because of that, I think Alfier is just way ahead of everyone. Like, way ahead. Like, I can't even give it... If something played in Tokyo, I could give it to something. Because I could be like, all right, fuck lock-in. Like, bullshit tournament. Like, look what you did in VCT APAC. But he didn't play in Tokyo. So I can't give it to something. There's, like, all these other options that are possible, but, like, their body of work isn't as big as Alfier's this year. So you have to give it to him. Yeah. Like, I think even if Fnatic lose tomorrow against Loud, I still think he might get it. Like,
so here are the scenarios. I think the only way that Alfier does not get Player of the Year is
if Les bodies them.
If Loud beats them again and Les carries, and Les carries them to the World Championship.
Yeah.
If Loud wins the World Championship and Loud beat Fnatic twice in the tournament, and Les is carrying them through the Fnatic match and the World Championship, that will push him ahead of Alfier.
Okay, fair enough. I'm on board with that. If Les and Loud win this rematch, he has to own them
and win the championship,
and and then win lower finals,
and win lower finals,
and win the finals. Yes. And Les still has to have, like, insane stats.
Yeah, top 2 stats for at least most of the matches.
Which is, I think that's very possible.
But that to me is the only way you knock off Alfier for number 1. The only other very tiny chance, I think, if maybe EG wins and Ethan goes crazy.
I think I could make the same argument for Ospas as you used to with Les, though.
I think Les has been the best player for Loud this year.
Ethan would be a good shout, too, actually. Because he played lock-in.
I think EG's got that close enough. Lock-in was just not great, but Tokyo was so good, and the season was really good. If they win the championship and Ethan goes crazy, I think it's going to be close. I really do have Alfier so far ahead. I feel like Les is really the only one that can catch him.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if EG wins the championship, I still think Alfier is the MVP.
I think Ospas is in the same spot as Les. I think if Ospas has, like, some ridiculous game against Fnatic, and then some ridiculous game against the loser of PRX versus EG, and then carries them in the finals, I would be like, all right, he looks crazy good at lock-in. He looks crazy good. He won the MVP of VCT Americas. He had a bad Tokyo. He was playing Neon. They tried something new. It didn't work out. And look at him now. Like, I could do it. I could do it. I could see it. But it would take a fucking miracle. I feel like Alfier is so far ahead in my head right now. All right. Let's go on to the next one you have. I like this. Coach of the Year.
Yeah, next one, Coach of the Year. I feel like this is really down to 2 people. And I'll give you some context. In traditional sports, usually Coach of the Year is also within the context of the expectations of the coach for the team going into the year, and or a miraculous term that they could have had in the middle of the year. And so if you just look at the body of work, you got to say, obviously, Fnatic has been the best team in the world. They've won every event. Mini is the Coach of the Year just by virtue of them winning everything. However, with EG playing so poorly at the start, and Potter getting, honestly, so much criticism from a lot of different angles on her tenure in EG from the beginning of the Valorant roster, and this 10-man, shenanigans and bringing players in and players out, everything that happened, and their turnaround from the middle of the season where they were basically a laughingstock and we were thinking about how many losses they're going to end up with at the end of the season, to squeaking into the playoffs, going on the run for Tokyo, and then keeping it consistent here in the Champions, being in the winners final right now, if EG win the championship, and especially if EG play Fnatic, if they end up getting to play Fnatic either in the grand final or in losers final, I think that Potter gets in, especially if they win either versus Fnatic or the championship. I really do think, especially within the context, that Potter is deserving of Coach of the Year. But I think it's really neck and neck between Mini and Potter. I feel like there's a little bit of edge to Potter just based on the expectation-wise and what has happened.
So I agree. I think Mini, what he's done with Fnatic is incredible, right? It is very hard, actually, to probably... People will be like, well, look at Fnatic's roster. They have 5 superstar players. It is very difficult to like manage those personalities and get them to play in the way that Fnatic plays. What he's done with that team is insane. He does have Boaster, though, and Boaster is insane. I will say that. I mean,
it's true. He has one of the most experienced, best IGLs of any single team in the world.
But Boaster has Mini. So it's like they're both great, right? Like it's like Phil Jackson having Michael Jordan type beat. It's like they're both good, right? I can't like hold that against him that he has Boaster. Potter,
Michael Jordan is not. But I need you to please rethink this and walk that back right now, or I'm going to be upset.
Okay, I'll walk it back. I just threw out some random shit from sports. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's very bad. We're going to ignore it.
I thought I was talking your fucking basketball.
YouTube comments, please ignore the Michael Jordan and Booster comparison. We're going to forget this happened.
But Potter, EG coming into this VCT was a laughing stock. The whole meme of them having like 10 fans, they had some budget ass roster that, compared to these other orgs that were just big spending at the start, and they took big steps back. Potter made a huge choice to bench BCJ and bring in Demon One, and everyone slaughtered her for that shit. And look at her now. Like, she has put together some insane game plans across all the maps, all these wins. It has been such it's like a story honestly, this has been like the craziest Cinderella story. The fact that MIBR even got EG here to this point, but they had a massive turnaround, and Potter is, I would be willing to give her literally almost all of the credit in that turnaround. But I think you are missing 2 other people that I think are deserving, which is Coach Alex from PRX, who is crafting up shit for the craziest comps I've ever seen with the craziest players I've ever seen. And he made his decision to, I guess bench Benkai in place of something. That is an insane decision that people probably thought he was crazy for. They benched their in-game leader for a star duelist. And now look at them. They're in the upper finals of champions. That shit worked out in spades. It was perfect. It was the best decision ever. And then the other one would be Fraud from Loud, who lost. Everyone thought Loud would take a big step back this year with Cowan Zine and Tui's coming in. And Loud reinvented the wheel with this Harper Viper shit. They won VCT Americas. Well, first they placed second at Lock-In, and all with 2 rookie players. These players just came into the team, and it was like Loud didn't skip a beat. It was like nothing ever happened. They didn't lose Saucy. They didn't lose Pinkata. And it wasn't until Tokyo where they looked even mortal in the slightest in my eyes. So I think it kind of depends how the rest of this tournament plays out. I'm not going to lie, because the 4 people that I would put up there are all the ones remaining. And some people might say, well, you didn't include Coach Termy, but I'm like, bro, that 6-man rotation shit was not it. That map veto, against EG was not it. I think Termy has made some mistakes this year, if I'm being honest. I think historically he's been pretty fucking good, but he's made some catastrophic decisions, actually, throughout this run. EDG, they never made a deep run, so I can't put them up there. NRG, even though they were all right, they weren't winning stuff like some of these other teams were. And even I guess EG plays second in Americas. They play second in Tokyo. If they were to win this, I feel like Potter would get it. I feel like Potter gets it. If Mini takes Champions with Fnatic, I think he gets this.
It's hard not to give the winner of the championship the award.
Yeah.
It really feels like whoever is going to win the championship should get the award. And I think Alex definitely is in the running. I just thought that PRX have had a couple falters this year that puts them
they won
out.
Dude, they won APAC bringing in something in the middle of the season. They placed third in Tokyo with a stand-in streamer playing Gecko. If they win Champions, that is insane. Considering the comps they run, they steal nothing from anyone in this scene. Like, they innovate so hard.
They have a very unique style of play, and it's worked for them the best. We've talked already, so mentioned this earlier video about how they're probably the favorite to win the event. So everything you're saying definitely is a strong case. I think it's just more like with everything you talk about with fraud and the roster changes, and especially everything that has happened regarding Aspis' situation within the team and him trying to like pull everyone together for Champions and then for them to go on this run, that you've got to be like, okay, that's actually really impressive. Because not only is he dealing with like all the in-game stuff and the map veto and the map draft and what agents they should play, he's had to manage like personalities and the team and the media and having to answer questions and having to deal with like the emotions. And that's like a much larger like issue for a coach to have to deal with than just the in-game stuff. That's where I give Fraud a little bit of the advantage in terms of like, as opposed to everybody else. He's had to deal with a lot more from the outside.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the last four coaches remain are literally the best we have in the scene right now. I mean, you could argue Chet's up there for sure, I think.
Sure. Well, Chet's on my list, okay? Chet,
Chet doesn't need a stray right now. He does not need this stray.
Chet is getting the stray. Okay, you are not on this list, Chet. All right, maybe next year.
All right, rookie of the year. I think
we're skipping rookie of the year because it is undoubtedly Demon One. There is no other answer. I mean, something I think is good. Kang also I think is considered a rookie.
Well, Kang was really here good. He was here last year.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. So we can't say he was there.
I mean, you got like Foxy9. You had like Rooney. I thought was an okay answer, but Demon One I think is just so far ahead of everybody else. It doesn't honestly matter what we think. What we think of anybody. Demon One has just performed so well that, and something not being in Tokyo I think hurts his chance. If something was in Tokyo and things were different, I think he would have a good shot, but because he wasn't,
I could argue again. I think it really depends how this shit plays out. Like if EG gets bodied by PRX, and like Demon One is in the middle of the scoreboard and something is like plus 30, and then EG loses the next game against like Fnatic, and Demon One's stats plummet further, like I would be like, something gets this shit. But if EG beats PRX, like then something stats inevitably will drop. Demon Ones will probably rise, and like that matchup kind of determines a little bit of this. I think right now I agree. Demon One's body of work this year as a rookie is a bit better. They both didn't play lock-in. Their team, They both joined their teams, I think, like in their respective leagues. Something won his league and was the top statistically in it. Demon One placed second, wasn't the top. Osbus was. I think Les was like close to second. But he's still fucking insane. I think I'd still side Demon One just for the spur he brought EG, right? Like EG was nothing before Demon One. Like they were not capable of being where they're at right now. Whereas at least before something joined PRX, like they were still making runs.
PRX was still going.
Yeah.
They were playing really good, even without something.
Yeah. It's like he really reinvigorated them. It's not like the EG players were bad. It's just something happened when he joined this team. I don't know. So I have to give it to Demon One, I guess, right now.
Yeah, I think that's really not as close as well. We really have to see what something does, especially you're right in this matchup, and if he win the championship. I think Demon One is a good amount ahead. So lastly, at least for now, and we're going to revisit all of this after championship ends and see where we think where a lot of these picks sit and what we think, and we'll come back to them. But first team all VCT, so that's the leader in each of the different roles, and then a fifth flex spot. I currently have Alfier, who is the MVP. He is the winner of the Sentinel role, and really Les, who is my number 2, is going to be kicked out to the second team because Alfier is in number 1.
That's rough.
I have Leo as the best initiator. I really think he's in the top 3 of MVP voting. I have Aspis as my duelist, and I think there's a lot of different options for this choice, but I really feel like, you know, him playing so well in the regular season and what he's doing here and the championship, and you add in lock-in, even though Tokyo was really a wash, I feel like that really has made him the strongest duelist. I have Mako as my number 1 controller. I think he really is the heart and soul of DRX. He continues to be the best player. And there are a lot of good controllers, but I really think if he was not on DRX, they may not have even gotten past the group stage. And I feel like he has been such an impactful player for that team throughout their entire run as DRX. And he's undoubtedly been the best player, and I feel like that has stayed consistent for 2023. And my flex pick is got to go to Ethan. I think he is the best player in North America. He has been, as much as Demon 1 has come through as kind of like the star duelist lately, Ethan has been their most consistent player and EG's best player. And I feel like he really has been deserving of a top player in the world. I feel like he is a really good choice for me as the round out of the 5th player.
It's a pretty good list, dude. I'm not gonna lie. The controller one's really hard for me. I'm struggling right now. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a lot of good options.
Yeah, there just hasn't been like a true standout, because Fnatic's controller is obviously their in-game leader, right? So it's like that person's not gonna have the best statistics, and you wouldn't put them on this team. Alfier is definitely getting in mine. I think Leo's also getting in mine as like just the solid initiator, the info initiator, playing like Sova Fade. I also think I would put Ethan in, unless.
I mean, there's a lot of good options. We have no PRX. I had no PRX players, and that didn't seem necessarily right for me.
I almost feel like I could squeeze less in here if I take out an initiator, but
I mean, he could fit the flex, but I feel like he's such a set sentinel. He doesn't really, in my mind, the flex role really has to be someone that changes.
So I couldn't even vote. I couldn't even vote for Les as like my sentinel of VCT Americas. He didn't have enough rounds. I wanted to. I actually said, "Hey, I want to put Les in here," and they're like, "You can't do it." I was like, "Wait," but he's actually the best Killjoy.
He is.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let me do it because he played so many more rounds as Viper because they were
playing so much Viper.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you want to see him as a controller, then I definitely think he gets in over Mako. But I think Mako is more of a pure controller if you're looking at it like.
I don't think
pure way.
I don't think Mako deserves this just because his team hasn't really placed as highly as they could have, but I also can't think of a single person that should get it over him. Like if NRG had a deep run here, I would put Sam, but they didn't, so I can't put Sam, right? Like I cannot. I guess like I could just say like, well, if I look at everything but champions, I would probably put Sam in there, but I don't like doing that. Like I don't know. I just feel like that's not the right. What if I put Demon 1 there? He's now a controller. No, so Giacomo does play a lot of Omen Astra, but like it's not like he's kind of like flexing around a lot. He plays a lot of Raze too. Like, is that bullshit if I put Giacomo in my controller?
I do think this question becomes harder because so many players are switching roles, and so many of the best teams in the world. The reason they are the best teams in the world is because their players can play so many different agents.
Yeah,
and I think that is hurting kind of the integrity of the question. But I feel like you should try to answer it to the be as honest as you can with yourself in terms of what
it's fucked
the
because
role is.
So Loud plays Harbor Viper, and Harbor's Tui's, and he's not going to get a lot of stats in this team. So it's like fucked. I can't pick him. You know, like Harbor Viper also faded away. I feel like I have to go. Like it's almost like Mako gets this by default, but I don't feel like he's the one that should be here. But I feel like it has to be him, unless you want to say it's like Jogamo. Unless you want to say Champions doesn't matter and you just put Sam here. Who else would be here? Angel?
Answer.
So I do like, though, your Leo, Ethan, Alfier. I don't think I'm putting Ospas in that first slot just because of Tokyo. I think I'm actually putting Durka there.
Who's your duelist? Okay, that I accept that.
Yeah.
I accept that.
I think I have to put Durka in that spot. Like, I can't put something because, again, he didn't play in Tokyo. He didn't play in lock-in.
Enough reps.
Which sucks. Like, again, there's like a lot of things that happen this year that just kind of takes a couple of the big players out of this question. Yeah.
I mean, you can't play a third of the year.
Yeah. I think if he did play the full year, he gets it. I think if he played the first... Ooh, dude, I could put fucking Forsaken in this flex.
You could. I think him and Ethan are real close in terms of. It's just that for me, I think Ethan's importance to EG winning is bigger than Forsaken. It's not that Forsaken hasn't played incredible, and I think we've tried to sing his praises, but I feel like Ethan is more important to EG's been success in winning, and that gives a slight edge to me over Forsaken.
Yeah.
And I think his stats have been a little better across the board.
All right, fuck it. Lock it in. This is it. This is it for me. I'm going Durka, Mako, Leo, Ethan, Alfier.
Great.
I hate that it has to be Mako. Like, it's not that I hate Mako. I actually love him. I'm like an Omen main. I just feel like I want to give it to someone whose team had more success.
Yeah, but it should be individual player award.
Yeah.
It can't just be like, the 5 players that win the championship are the 5 players on the first team all roll.
I think even for like Mako standards, though, I feel like this year wasn't like a sick year for him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because DRX has underperformed.
Yeah.
So it's been really hard for him to get his.
That's a good point. It's very hard to have good stats when your team is fucking losing. Yeah. Man, I don't feel good about this. All right, I'm
that's great. That's why it's perfect.
I'm locking it in.
So definitely the championship can affect things. If certain players have a go insane, if Forsaken goes crazy and PRX wins the championship, maybe he's the best initiator. So I feel like a few things can change, but this is where we are, and then we get to revisit it next week, see how close we were.
We're gonna fucking be hating ourselves when literally Fnatic shits the bed right now. All these players will just be Loud players next week. Watch. At least you got Ospas in there already. But when
I've covered my bases, Sean. I've protected myself, for a few things.
You're hedging with this.
I'm hedging a little bit.
Literally, I see what you're doing. Actually,
you love it. You like it. You like it.
You're gonna regret not having a Paper X player in there, though.
I'm very well. Might be. I might be. Think I will.
Wait, what about Jing? Jing's stats haven't been that good though. This Champions, I'm not lying.
Right? Yeah, haven't been great.
Dude, they're just sending his ass in to die.
I mean, someone's got an Angel.
Dude, his stats are actually better than I thought they'd be. I'm watching him play, bro. He's just like double satchelating to his death. His first bloods aren't very good though. They're just like, all right, Jing, double satchel in. Tell us where they are. We'll go kill them all. Like, all right.
I mean, it's worked for them.
It's working real well.
Team-wise, it's doing great.
It's working real well.
It's doing great.